Hello and welcome to the Warmness Machine podcast. My name is Lindsay. This is a fiber arts podcast. I'm a crocheter and knitter and a spinner, and in today's episode we will be going over my progress on my sock study. So first, what is a sock study? Well, think about it like an independent study at a university or a college where you gather your own materials and then you write a paper on what you learned. My sock study is right here. So it consists of a core curriculum, a spinning section, and a knitting section. My sock study for me is making sock yarn with knitting socks. So super duper cool. I have a subscription to the School of Sweet Georgia, and so that is what we will be discussing shortly. So let me show you the sock study up close. So this is my sock study. I've updated it from August, which is this month, just for some patterns, and I think the layout of it I updated. So let's talk about the layout. I have some curriculum here, and that is from the School of Sweet Georgia. I don't get paid to talk about them and or anything like that, but I do very much enjoy my subscription with the School of Sweet Georgia. And we have a spinning section, which is spinning for sock yarn, and then a knitting section, which is knitting socks. The classes that I have taken will be indicated with a check mark. Scoot in. There'll be a check mark there. So spinning for socks I took. Also, same thing applies. I took the cuff down custom socks and the toe up custom socks. But I have yet to take knitting 2 at a time. I have done actually three ply sock yarns. I will share them with you today. But I only required myself to do 2 in the beginner section. So I'm gonna go down in the spinning section. So intermediate yarn, so that's like the beginner, easy, like where you start off, is 3 ply sock yarn that is spun hard and plied, tightly plied. So high twist, high ply. And then my intermediate is a 4 ply yarn. Now I don't have a Lazy Kate that holds 4 bobbins at a time, so this will be on hold till I figure out how to add that extra bobbin. Here we have advanced yarn, and I'm just going to scoot this up. Here we have the advanced yarn, and you can see a cable 4 ply, which I'm not going to explain at the time, but I will explain later, because I actually don't remember what a cabled 4 ply consists of. I know what it looks like, but I don't know how to describe it. Self-striping yarn, which I have finished for Tour de Fleece. A crepe 3 ply, which I'm working on right now. That has 2, it's almost like an opposing 3 ply where you have 2 bobbins spun in the S direction, 1 bobbin spun in the Z direction, and then like you go through a process. So I'm going to explain the crepe 3 ply yarn a little bit more, but the opposing 3 ply doesn't have that extra step. So let me start by explaining this before I go on to the knitting. So a 3 ply yarn has 2 S spun and then 1 Z spun, and this is my card. This is the first bobbin of yarn that I did, and so I tried to just keep a little card. It's just easier. I find it's just easier to have a little card that says, okay, this is the size of the singles that I spun. So I'm going to have 2 S plies, and then one Z ply. I'm going to apply the two S's, the imaginary one that's here. I'm going to apply those in a Z twist, and then with the 2 plied Z and the 1 Z ply, so Z goes that way, S goes that way. With these 2 plied together, I will then ply these 2 in the S, and then that's my yarn. So I'll share a little bit more about that when I finish the yarn. I'm currently working on the second bobbin for the S spun yarn. For the opposing 3 ply, you do 2 S's, 1 Z, but then you just ply it all together. And or you do 1 S and 2 Z's. See, this is why I don't want to explain it. But no, it's actually I'll actually put like a note down on the screen for you. So here we have beginner sock patterns, intermediate sock patterns, and advanced sock patterns. There's not too much going on between them, but back when I was putting this together, they seemed to even out. So the beginner sock patterns are all, if you can see, from Denise DeSantis, who is EarthTones Girl on YouTube. These are all her patterns, and she also has a class on YouTube on how to knit socks, because she is like a sock aficionado, and she's awesome. I learned so much from her. So I want to show you my first so before I show you any yarn or anything else, the No Fear Shorty sock, I made those, but I gifted them to my mother. So I love you, Mom. Hi. The Sock Exploration socks I made, I still own them. And then I just completed the One More Step sock, which is a reference to Lord of the Rings. The intermediate sock patterns, O Valencia is from the Custom Sock book by, I think, Kate Atherley. That pattern's from there. The Hamaris by Foley Ordinaire is, it's both in French and English, and I got that off of Ravelry. The honeycomb socks, and these are colorwork socks. The Valencia is lace. So each of these sections has a lace, colorwork, and cabled pattern. And then the honeycomb sock is a cable pattern, and that's a free pattern from Emily Bolden. I don't know how to pronounce that last name, but I love it. Advanced sock patterns. The prismatic, I took a becoming a lace knitter course with the School of Sweet Georgia, and that was one of the patterns to work on, and I finished that, and I will share that with you. Breakfast socks by Charlotte Stone, who is also Stone Knits on Ravelry. That is a pattern that I purchased. It's colorwork, so we have lace, colorwork, and then the Thelonix, Thexelno. I have no idea, but that's from Sari Nordland's book, Softly Timeless Knits, and that is cables. So we have lace, colorwork, cables, lace, colorwork, cables. So let me show you the first two 3-ply sock yarns that I spun and the patterns that go with them. So this is the first yarn that I ever spun, and you can see it gets a little thick and thin. You can see it's a little thick and thin. Who cares? It was marvelous. This is 100% Dorset, and I did the custom, that's another yarn, but I did the cuff down custom sock class with this yarn, and those are the socks. The colorway for this is from Akara Rose, and it's 100% Dorset, in the colorway Bear With Me. And these socks are tight, but they fit like a dream. They wear like a dream. I made them last year, and they're just so comfy cozy. And I don't like my leg to be super long, so hashtag millennial. So that's that sock, and that's the yarn. The next 3-ply yarn I did, also from Akara Rose, is this. This is in the colorway Tattoo, and you can see it's definitely more consistent. Ooh, I got better. So this was a lot of fun, and I actually knit the prismatic socks with this color because first of all, I adore these socks. Before I show you these socks, I adore these socks. I adore knitting lace socks. I adore knitting lace. I also love crocheting lace. So these are the socks that go with this. And you can see that they're sisters, not twins. And I just adore them. I just adore this. I'm going to show you this pattern. I love how the pink comes out, but look at that. Look how pretty that is. You can tell I'm such a little nerdy nerd. And like just the yarn is just... So anyway, these are some of my favorite socks to wear. 100% Dorset again. So those were my 2 3-ply sock yarns. I'm going to show you a third one. And that will be, if I can find it. Oh, here it is. 100% undyed Cheviot, and these are the One More Step socks. So the prismatic I just recently finished, and these are the One More Step. They have a little 1x1 cabling that is mirrored on the other foot. So, and then one foot I messed up. I think it was the left or the right. Yeah, you see I forgot to do a thing, and I don't know where that came from. I don't know what happened. But I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened with these socks. But I want to show you this. This also has the shadow wrap heel. Look how cool that is. I've gotten so much better at the shadow wrap heel. You can't even tell. You cannot even tell. Now, I'm going to leave these here, and I'm going to show you the Socksploration socks, because I finished those last year, I believe, or earlier this year. I couldn't even tell you. These, I don't know what, this is from like a really cool dyer. I think it's Arctic Mermaid is the colorway here for the self-striping yarn. I don't know where I got that yarn from. But you see, this is the shadow wrap heel, and you see how there's so many gaps, and yet, can I do it? Can I show you? You see how it's a little bit, it's not as present. Well, I guess it is. So I guess I didn't do, well, this is just very, very, you can just tell. But if I'm not doing a heel flap and gusset right now, I'm doing a shadow wrap heel. So these are, let me move this out of the way and that out of the way, and you can really have a good look at the Socksploration socks. I love it. I love it. So, I have completed on my sock study almost everything. The next sock I'm doing for myself is not on here. I'm doing something from a book I got from the library, but I did do self-striping yarn for Tour de Fleece, so I'm going to check that off. And sorry for the shake. I don't know why it shakes like that all the time. So let me show you this self-striping yarn. Now, it's a little too thick. Back up. It's a little too thick. And how do you make self-striping yarn, you may ask? Well, you just take your fiber and you spin it from beginning to end, and then you chain ply it. And if I have a clip of me chain plying, I'll put it in. But yeah, this is it. This is from Akara Rose also in the colorway Fig. And if I had any sense, I would have purchased 2 of these. This is like a DK weight in some areas. It's really not as thin as I would have liked. So I'm not going to use these for socks. I'm just going to spend more self-striping sock yarn. But, you know, practice makes progress. So, you know, I'm really enjoying that. I'm also going to show you another finished object. So this is a finished object for my socks, but I also had a finished object that is not on my sock study. It's from Charming Colorwork Socks. Let me get the book. This is amazing, and I love it so much. I'm making another, so you see, they're so pretty. Let me show you these socks and these socks. What about that? What about that? So this was not on my sock study. It's all over Colorwork. Of course I messed up the short row heel because it's not my favorite heel to do. But geez Louise, Lindsay. Geez, and let me show you the inside. I messed up the heel, but look at that. Oh, I did a good job. So the socks that I finished recently are gonna be these wonderful socks and these wonderful socks and then this sock yarn. If you cannot tell, I love knitting socks. I love it. So yeah, that's that. So what am I working on currently? Well, currently I am spinning sock yarn. I have this yarn. Let me see if I can find it. Forgive my rickety chair. Okay. So I'm showing you a little nest. I have these, I broke this up into little nests, not because I need nests. I broke it up because I wanted to measure it out into 3 equal parts. And they're around 34 to 32 grams for each bobbin, like this. And I'm almost done finishing a bobbin. And I'm also going to be knitting a sock from my sock study, but I really don't know which one I'm going to pick next. Depends on what's in my stash, because I'm not always trying to buy yarn, because I just spent a lot of money on fibers. But this fiber is from the one that I'm spinning for the crepe yarn, is from the Small Bird Workshop, which I really like. They're based in Canada, I believe. And this is 62.5 undyed Cheviot with 12.5% undyed alpaca, 12.5% of linen, 12.5% of mulberry silk comb topped, equaling a total of 100 grams. So what if you want to make your own sock study? I have a couple of books that I'd like to show you. One that I actually like, and the other one I picked up from the library to show you that you could do this for free, right? Because the last thing we need is to not utilize the library. I love the library. Okay, so the first book I'm going to show you is this one, which is called Custom Socks, Knit to Fit Your Feet by Kate Atherley. Great book. It's got some charts in there on, you know, she took a small sample survey to ask people like the size of their foot. She has a chart in here for like shoe size to sock size. She has a page on gauge, and a page on like doing a small sample in the round. She's got patterns that go toe up and cuff down. So let me just show you a sock real quick. One of the socks I've already shown you. This beautiful one with my head spot. So cuff, this is the cuff. This is the leg. This is the heel flap and the gusset. The gusset actually is I still don't know how to define a gusset, because you can have a gusset on an underarm, you can have a gusset in your pants, but I think it's basically this little triangle here where you're picking up stitches. You see, I still don't know. You see, I still don't know. Train. So I clearly need to figure that out. There's 15 patterns in here, and the pattern that I am making for my sock study is this one called O Valencia. That's the next one I'm making. And I was thinking I would make it for my aunt, but I'm not sure if I have enough yarn. So I'm gonna make sure I have enough yarn for that, because I want to stash dive. I don't want to buy new sock yarn. I have enough yarn. So I couldn't recommend this book more. I got it from the library, like I said, and I read it and I try to figure things out. It's really, really good, but it's very wordy. So just keep that in mind. The second book I got, I haven't looked through this at length, but I picked it up just as like an example of maybe this is somewhere you're going. Maybe you're less interested in lace and maybe you're more interested in color work. In which case I couldn't recommend this book more, because this book, The Big Book of Knitted Socks, 45 Distinctive Scandinavian Patterns, is just color work sock after color work sock. This one, little Russian socks for little feet, has a little cow. It has little feet patterns. It has big feet patterns. The thing that I don't like about it is it will give you one size pattern, one size for the sock. This little rabbit. It will give you one size for the sock, but then at the beginning of the book, it will tell you like how to switch the sizes. I'm not a fan of just going up a needle size. I don't like that. I feel like, well, what about my stitches? You know, so, but yeah, this is good for color work. There's another book that is an electronic copy called The Sock Knitting Bible, which I've also looked at. But I definitely wouldn't call it a Bible. It's not that intense. So, you know, people throw the word around to mean like some huge tome, and then it's not that thick. I do something, but it's still very good. And then there's obviously patterns out there, and some of the patterns that I showed you from my sock study. So I hope that was helpful. I hope this was a good episode for you. I enjoyed it. I'm excited about my sock study. Once I finish my sock study, I will gift myself 52 weeks of socks from Lionel Publishing. So it's like an incentive to purchase that cool book. So thank you so much for joining me. The next episode will be just a basic podcast episode on what I've made. And until then, happy making, and bye for now.